Hi, I'm Cheryl Conner, and we're here at the Q2 Summit. I'm here with Marlon Mueller. We're at the Ritz-Carlton Las Colinas in Irving, Texas, and ready to do some great things this week at BA. So I'm excited that we're here and excited we get to talk about this. We've been talking about it for a while, but we get to go into a little more depth. So this is going to be good. So
and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, good. I'd like to talk with you about all things wealth, what most people get wrong about money and meaning, and how we're going to define it, how we're going to get it, and how to grow it for the rest of our lives. So on that note, you are a really unique, distinctive person to me. Earned financial wisdom, spiritual operating system, plus lived reinvention. I think we both have the benefit of maturity. We've earned the gray hair. We've lived a lot of experiences, and now we get to put all of that to use.
Right.
But tell me a little bit about what got you into everything that you're doing now.
It was very simple. When I was in my 20s, two things were happening. Farm crisis, and I was involved in a 34-year estate issue. And so, and ended in a lawsuit. And there were family members in this too, correct? Right, yes.
Even worse.
Extended family members.
Even worse,
right.
Yes.
And so the thing I came to the conclusion in my early 20s or mid 20s was I need to understand how money works, and we got to figure out how we do estate planning. So I have spent, ever since those years, I just study that. And every year I would pick a subject and study it. So that's how I gained a lot of wisdom through experience, studying, and implementing.
And the farm situation, did it work out?
Yes. If I would have followed what the bankers wanted me to do, we probably would have lost all our farms.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a fast lesson.
It was a very fast
and a big
lesson.
One.
And in the end, what it taught me is when we go through like the 2008 housing crisis, it was really the same thing happening, only on houses instead of land. And I could just see the pattern repeat. And it's interesting how they always say history doesn't repeat exactly, but it rhymes. And that's what I was saying.
There are cycles, it's cyclical.
Absolutely.
Things you could learn.
Absolutely.
Well, you were an Iowa farmer. You built a very different life over time. So with all of those lessons and everything that you've learned, what did that chapter teach you really that you'll never lose for the rest of your life?
I think there's really two lessons I've learned about money and for life. One is that I don't control it, God's in control. And when you're following in God's footsteps and his guidance that way, things work out much better. And the second thing is don't rely on somebody else in the sense of them controlling your money. Because when you allow other people to control your money, and they're making money off your money, and they can do things. In fact, I had a person that was trying to get their annuity that they had to invest in a different project, and the annuity company was just locking it up and making them go through all kinds of hoops. And it's like, for me, that was like, see, they're controlling your money.
Right.
They say it's your money, but it's not.
But it's not.
Right.
They've locked it up.
Right.
That applies in so many ways.
Yes. Banks are the same way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. Well, an interesting aspect of what I think of and would love to hear your perspective on, when people say they want wealth, what do you think they're actually getting wrong?
That's such a great question, because when they say the word wealth, automatically they think about money and finances. That is such a small part. So in fact, I have my 4 F's. And my 4 F's are faith, family, fitness, and finances in that order. So finances is really the last thing. So many people put finances first, and then they exclude everything else because they're going after the finances, and maybe they get really wealthy financially. But what does their family look like? What does their health look like? What does their spiritual life look like? And it's usually not very good. And so what have they really gained?
Well, I've kind of observed the reverse happening too, that people say, if I'm of high faith, they're almost self-righteous about it. Say, I have a higher priority. I don't think about money because I'll think about righteousness first, and then money ought to solve itself. That's what I'm owed.
That's almost as as absurd as the other way. And the reality is, I remember a pastor once told me, so many people's like, I don't want to make a lot of money, which I'm just like, why would you not? God is a God of blessings. You know, he everyone that's in the Bible that has followed God have been blessed way beyond measure. But this pastor, I thought, was a great saying. He said, that is selfish. When you say, I just want to make enough to get by, he said, that's selfish. How are you going to be a blessing to others? You cannot be a blessing to others. We're called to be a blessing to others. So my whole thing is make what you need to make to live a nice lifestyle, and then keep growing your wealth and doing good.
And be balanced in the process.
Right.
So you've got the right priorities all along.
Right.
I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, now let's talk a bit about how wealth is really built, the practical and the philosophical blend. So what are the habits or disciplines that separate people who make money from people who actually keep and grow wealth? Yeah,
so
big difference.
That's another great thing. So many years ago, I was involved with an indoor football team with some millionaires. And I was still trying to grow my wealth too. And I remember one of the guys said, making money is easy. Keeping it is hard. And I didn't really understand what he meant by that. I do today.
Now you do.
Yes. But I see that. I see a lot of, in fact, I know this one person making 6-figure income, all of a sudden lost their job. They panicked. I'm like, what are you panicking about? They had no savings.
Nothing.
They had spent every dollar. They were worrying about how they're going to pay rent the next month. I'm like, are you serious?
Hand to mouth.
Yes.
That's scary.
And
a big lifestyle.
Yeah. And there's another saying that's, you know, when you're looking at money, there's 2 types, seed and bread. So the bread is what you need to live on. You know, that's for your food, water, clothing, all that stuff. Seed, that's what you're going to plant for a future harvest. And a lot of people don't do that. Or they give their seed to somebody else and it's so small and they lose it, or they don't understand where the seed's being planted. That's a big thing. So, you know, I always tell people you have to take and put some money aside, even if small amounts, and do it over time. And it's time is on your side that way. Consistency and time.
Which is really, really interesting. Is there any kind of, I'm sure there is, a system or a framework for how they should think so that they're accomplishing all of these things or both of these spectrums in the right amounts?
So there's 2 books I highly recommend to read. First one, you'll never guess, but it's called the Bible.
Of course.
There's 700 passages about money and how money works and think about it and all that stuff. The second book I really, really like is called The Science of Getting Rich. It was published in 1910. And it's a science. It's like you do this,
1910.
1910.
And it still applies.
Still. I mean, we've read that multiple times. I mean, I just study that book because there's just little things in there. I mean, it's like I know it, but I don't know it. It's like the more you know, the more you don't know. That makes sense.
So it's still in print.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
And we can get it.
Yeah. And it's honorable.
I've heard you mention it, so I'm going to definitely follow up on that.
Right.
That is good. My husband, you know Dean, he got his first influence from his great-grandfather. They called him Little Grandpa. And when Dean was just 5 years old, he taught him 2 things. One about tangible assets.
Oh, wow.
Gold and silver, tangible assets versus things that are just paper or ethereal and somewhere in the bank. And the other was the principle of compounding interest, if you can believe that. He memorized that at age 5, 7.
Wow.
And never forgot it.
Wow.
So it's interesting, the influences.
You know, that is what's so great about family and teaching them values, because going through an estate issue, I was like, how do I teach the 3rd, 4th, 5th generation? And because you've always heard like 1st generation makes it, 2nd one maintains it, 3rd one loses it. It's like, how do you get to the 4th one? And really it's about teaching the values and like those principles. I had a lady I'm working with, she had, at 12, I think, her dad gave her the book, Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, yeah.
And she read that, studied that, and today she's worth millions. She has properties all over the country.
So she did more than think about it.
Yeah, she did. She acted on it. But her dad was worked in a factory all his life. He never did what the book did, but he wanted his daughter to.
Wow.
And so the legacy of that family has changed because of what the dad had set up and trying to encourage her daughter.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
very interesting.
That's how you move and transfer wealth generationally.
Interesting. I remember somebody I know, a founder, who put up a chart. He put it up on LinkedIn. He didn't put numbers on it, but he said, this is a graph of my personal wealth.
Mm-hmm.
This is that graph over the years that I worked in a company. And then when I became a founder, that was where the hockey stick happened.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's risk, even though, so that's another concept, risk.
Right.
What do you advise people, and what are your feelings about risk and how this ought to play into the equation?
So, I always wish I would have had a mentor through all my hiccups, if you want to call that. But so when I was in my 30s and 40s, I invested in a lot of startup companies and different things like that, I'd lose $100,000. And my thought process, well, I'm still young. It's like in the markets. They always say, oh, you lose in the market. It's going to come back. You're still young. You'll still make it over. Looking back, I'm thinking that was dumb because not only did I lose that money, but I lost the potential what that money could do in growing. And so, one of the BA members that's been in here told me one time, he said, I just invest in boring things. See, I was going after that unicorn, boom, boom, make me a multimillionaire overnight kind of thing. And most of them never work. And he said, I just invest in boring things like car washes or accounting firms or plumbing and heating companies that cash flow. I mean, you think about it, everyone has to do the taxes every year. It doesn't matter what the economy's up or down. You still need an accountant.
Death and taxes.
Yes. And so he said, that's what I go after. I was like, wow, what if I would have done that, instead of losing all that money?
Or maybe some of each.
Well, yeah. Most of us, when we get at our age, we look back and we're like, yeah, just keep her safe and simple and growth over time.
Right.
That's that hockey stick because, you're just going along, and all of a sudden you just start, the multiplication just gets bigger and faster.
So you're acknowledging, if I understand this correctly, there is risk, but take less of it, not more.
There's always risk. I mean, there's risk keeping your money in the bank.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like the bank can go under. They say there's FDIC. I mean, if you had 30 banks go under and they're big banks, there's no money.
I've heard some stories from Dean about banks that did go under, and it's just, it just wasn't what you would hoped it would be.
Right. And they changed the rules too. And a lot of people don't know about the rule changes. And so I actually use other alternative systems to hold money and stuff like that too. And tangible assets,
Oh, I'd love to hear some more about that, but maybe just one more point on this. Where does faith and spiritual alignment play?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a
in
great
the scheme
question.
of
So
decisions
I actually
here.
wore this shirt today. Blessed, highly, what does it say? Blessed and highly favored. Yeah. So,
Yes.
But the thing is, faith plays a big part. I heard this the other day. They were talking about hope is general. Faith is specific. So think about that
for a minute.
So if you're like, oh, I hope I can do this, or I hope God will do this for me. It's just a very generalized, but if you're like, I know God, because that's his Bible, everything that's in there, like Deuteronomy 28, all the blessings. You can claim blessings. You can claim those. Those are specific. Claim them, and God's going to do this. That's faith, being specific.
But we've done our part. We've had to earn it too.
Oh, yeah. You can't just sit there and not do anything,
Right.
So even like our church, we're looking for a commercial building. And I'm like, we just got to go out there and just keep looking. We've been looking, and there's a building we know of, and it's like, okay, this might work. Way out there. I mean, we don't have any money for it, but it's like faith. We know by faith, we believe God wants us to have that building. The money will show. I keep telling people, I think differently than most, so I always tell them, the money's out there. There's more than enough money out there. It's our story. What's our story? How we grab people's attention, and the money will show up. Which
is so interesting because when you put your focus, your whole mindset on it, I watch you, and I've heard you mention that, and your wife, Nancy, watches you too. You see so much opportunity, you almost can't stop. And it's not like mountains of things fell and hit you on the head. It's like things that you saw and observed, and you agreed to help somebody. And in the midst of that, it gets bigger and bigger.
Well, I'll give you a quick example.
Okay.
So one of the buildings we were looking at, an 80-year-old lady owned it. Her husband had passed, her son had passed, and the realtor, he knew me. He said, "Hey, could you help her out?" Ends up, long story short, she had couple properties that she had garages with leftover stuff from her nephews, her stuff.
Right.
I started with one garage. I thought that's all it was. Yeah, I could help you out. Then she goes, "I have another garage," and then another building. And so I've been selling stuff off Facebook. Ideally, it's a waste of my time.
Right.
But it's a servant attitude that I have. And then I run across people, they're buying stuff, and I go, "Oh, what are you using this for?" And there's one guy who's like, "I'm doing a landscaping, starting it." He didn't have a car yet. And so I'm helping out. I found him a mower and all this kind of stuff. And then another guy's showing up and he's looking for a landscaper. Hey, I got a guy. So I hooked them up. And then a guy showed up and I had a portable projector. Found out he owns his company. He's 61 and he's revitalizing this company. I'm talking to him. He goes, "I want to bring you in to talk to my salesman. My salesmen need to hear what you have to say." And we just clicked. And it's just another partnership. How would I have gotten that if I hadn't give my time and effort on something that's not making my money, any money?
Right.
We're giving all away to ministry. It's really a waste of my time, but I'm making these connections. I'm helping people. I'm seeing people walk away. They're happy that, wow, I got this thing that I couldn't afford to buy new. And so it's like a win-win-win all the way around.
Well, that's perspective and energy and work. And I'm thinking too, I don't remember the statistics, but everyone in America right now is dealing with a dearth of garages full of stuff.
Well, me too.
Like they inherited, and it's a problem
absolutely.
Like our children.
Well, think about it. When you're in your 20s and you're looking at how do you accumulate stuff? Because you need this, you need that. And you just end up accumulating. And at this point in my life, I'm like, my kids don't want it. I save stuff that when they got married and stuff, "Oh, you can have this." They didn't even want it. So now I just got to get rid of this stuff.
Or somebody will have to.
Right.
And rather than it be a negative thing.
Right.
Adding to landfills or something that nobody makes use of.
Right. Well, that's what
you're redeploying it into the right hands.
Right. And kind of, just like I went through the financial crisis and the state crisis.
Right.
Fourth generation farmer, you know what that leaves me? A lot of stuff. I mean, I had buildings, huge buildings, barns, 2-story barns, full of stuff, 4 generations of stuff. And so I have to get rid of it, and the same thing. We look at our house stuff, like, do we want to saddle our kids with what I got saddled with all this stuff from my parents and grandparents and great grandparents. So technically, we're looking at, you need to get rid of stuff, and donate it and do whatever we need to.
Well, and I see it as a stewardship too, like improving upon what we've been given.
Right.
And if we've got this massive excess of gifts or junk or whatever it is, improving upon it.
Well, it's about keeping things working. It's like dollars. If you just hold the dollars on your mattress and stuff like that, are they working? No. You want to keep them working. You want to, just like the stuff that you're sitting there having used for 10 years or 5 years or 3 years. What good is it? You might use it. No, just get rid of it. Let somebody who could use it.
Right.
And then when you need it, borrow it from somebody, rent it from somebody, do whatever.
Right. So, rather than create somebody else's job or future landfill.
Right.
So I love that perspective. And we could all participate in that. We could all learn from it.
Right.
Tell me something you believe about money that would make some people uncomfortable, but you've seen it prove true.
So one of the things I do is I use life insurance for banking. It's a different concept, and especially when you've been through banking crisis, and banks always want to loan you money when you don't need it,
right?
Technically, but when you need it or they're in trouble and you need it, then you can't get it.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, make sure that you build up credit. Like if you have $100,000 on your house, it's get a HELOC on that, so your home equity, it's available, even if you don't need it, just so it's available. And that's So that's what I kind of do with life insurance. I use life insurance. It's another vehicle to store my cash if I need it, and other than just a bank. And the second thing about it is when I go to borrow against it, it never leaves. That's the beauty of it. It never leaves. It's always making money, but I can use against that money to do other things.
So you have your money working for you twice.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then with real estate, you can do it 3 and 4 times, same dollars working.
That's
or in crypto
amazing.
or some
That's
other.
amazing.
There's ways of doing that.
I'm betting a lot of people are going to want to know, delve in deeper on that. Let's get philosophical for a second. So what does enough look like, and how does someone know when they've reached it?
Oh, I love that. I've never been a guy that's been extravagant. In fact, some of my friends here that are worth millions are still not extravagant. But we're extravagant in investing. We're extravagant in giving money away. I've been extravagant in helping out people and then they don't pay you back, So that's part of it. But I think a lot of people, they just never get satisfied. And what that comes down to is one word: gratitude.
Oh, yes.
People aren't grateful for what they have. And so they're always striving for more. And it's such a relaxing, I look at my life and it's like, do I have everything I want? No. And I'm kind of glad, because if you had everything, why would you want to keep living?
Right.
And so, when I talk to people in their mid-60s, I said, you're just getting started. I knew this pastor, he was 84. He said his most productive years were between 65 and 80.
That's
you know what that tells me?
Such a good point.
I'm in my most productive years.
This
I
is
just
it.
started
This
my
is what we
most
got here
productive
for.
years. Yeah. It's like Colonel Sanders, he's 65 when he started. And so I look at that, and so it's not about getting more and getting more and getting more. It's about what can you do with this, And so like working with my church and helping these people and doing all this kind of stuff, it's like there's more opportunities to help more people and have impact. It's about impact.
That's really excellent.
Yeah.
If we could compress everything that you know and have learned about wealth into one principle, just one, what would it be?
I'll make it an A-B.
Okay.
So one is, it's all about God. God is in control. He owns it all. Without faith, it's failure. We know a guy that he created so much in his mind and in wealth and everything else. And when he had a hiccup, he felt like such a failure that he took his life.
Oh, my word.
And so what was the whole point of that? So that faith is the key element on creating wealth, is having that faith. The second thing is I have a formula, and it's M3 times IV times Y equals freedom. Basically money, M, control, multiply, and protect. IV is your investment vehicles, because most people are in the wrong investment vehicles. And Y is your mind, is your mindset. Because if you don't have it here, you'll never have it. Like if you are a $100,000 person and you go, man, if I had $1 million, I'm like, no. If you had $1 million, you'd be back to 100,000, because you don't know how to handle and think through $1 million. It's a process. It's a journey. And then doing that, those three things creates that freedom.
It's a good answer. So tell me one final thing I'd like to ask. What does a truly wealthy life look like in practice, not just in theory?
In practice, I would say it's very simple in the sense of what we talked about, wealth, the 4 F's. So you would have your faith. You would be spiritual in the sense of, praying, reading the Bible, going to church, helping others in that faith and growing their faith. Like Sundays, a bunch of our members, we have a Bible study on Sundays, and, getting involved that way. Secondly, your family. What does your family look like? A lot of people always look at my boys and their strong faith and their work ethic and everything else, and they're like, how did you do that? Well, we're intentional. We're intentional and disciplined and consistent in our discipline and training. And the things I was learning, I was teaching them too. The tapes and books I was reading and listening to, I had them do. Mm-hmm. And the second or third aspect is fitness. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're not healthy, I mean, I have classmates. I run our high school class reunions, mm-hmm. and oh my gosh, some of my classmates, I mean, they're walking, they're so overweight or they're so out of shape, and they're in walkers. They can't even walk alone. And I'm thinking they're really in bondage. If you think about that, it's a spiritual bondage more than anything else, because mm-hmm. they're trapped in their bodies, unable to do what they should be doing, what their God-given gifts are, because they're trapped in the body.
Didn't use it, didn't invest in it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's profound.
That, and then of course the finances, mm-hmm. It's like you have enough money that you don't have to worry about. I had one of the guys in the indoor football team, he's told us one time too, he said, if I have a money problem, mm-hmm. or he goes, if I have a problem and it's a money problem and I have more than enough money to deal with it, I don't have a problem. I have an inconvenience. And that's how I live my life. It's like
money
tire
can
blows.
Solve it, I don't have a problem.
You don't really have a problem.
But your health and your body.
Right.
Or your faith.
Right. Yep. So
or your mindset.
That's a wealthy life.
That's a good one. We'll aspire to that. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Well, thank you for having me and for some great questions.
So if people want to get acquainted with you, find out more, or take more steps, what can they do?
They can actually go to marlonmueller.com, MarlonMueller.com.
So you're set?
Yes.
People can find you easily
right.
and have a conversation. I'll speak from experience. You're willing to do that and you give freely.
Right.
So that is great. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Cheryl.
Enjoy this. And for those of you listening, if you don't mind subscribing to us, like and share what you like, we appreciate it. And thanks for joining us from the Board of Advisors.